Okay, welcome. So this class we're going to be focusing on a flow series with backbends with Mina Harker, again, who's covered in dust and pollen. Anyway, so when we're doing this kind of practice, I find it really useful to understand and connect with the spine, know where the spine is in space. And we've talked a little bit about how when we're about to approach any movement, we understand the shoulder girdle or sort of the top end of the spine or the top connection of the spine. So we have control of the top of the snake of the spine. And then we also know where the pelvis is and understand the whole pelvic girdle and bowl and understand the perineum, but the connection so that we have control at the bottom end of the snake or the spine. So to do this, what I'm going to do is lay down on this. I have this rubber, you can see that it's quite long so that when I lay on it, it'll have enough room for the back of my pelvis and also to include my head. But if we don't have this magic little foam block, then that is designed for the spine, then you can take your blanket and open it up twice and then accordion it. So, I've just taken it and folded it and then folded it just like an accordion and then just really stack them and then you can lay on this. It's a little bit taller than the foam that I have, but that will serve just as well because it would also be nice to have two of these stacked on top, and that's what will end up being like with the blanket. But just because I have the foam, I'm going to use that because it'll stay in place. Like that's the benefit of having the foam. All right, so just move my blanket to the side. And usually when we do back bends, at the end of our back bend practice, we need to do some sort of leg stretches. So when we come into the back bends, what we're going to be looking for is an engagement just at the very backs of the thighs near the sitting bones. So those muscles, and then they'll connect up into the glutes. And so when we do this, it kind of shortens the back of the legs, or because it is a back bend, the whole body is kind of shortened that way compared to a forward fold where it's shortened front ways. So one side's kind of with the idea of lengthening and one side's gathering. So at the end of our back bend practice, it's good to do some leg stretches. So I have my elastic band. I really like these ones. I've got this one from B Yoga, and it came in a pack of 3, and this one's the firmer of the elastics, but just a regular belt will do. This is just kind of fun to have the buoyancy of the elastic, but it's not better than a belt. Okay, so have that nearby, and also to have 2 blocks or 2 books, because we'll start by doing some lunges and understanding that doing lunges with that specific dynamic of engaging the muscles just at the very right by the sitting bone, so the back of the legs up into the glute, um, and then opening a little bit through the front of that same leg through the thigh is a back bend. So lunges are back bends, and because the back bend isn't just the lumbar, it's not just the middle, it's not just the upper back, it's the whole spine, but also through the hip joints. So that's what we're looking for, a little bit of release. So we'll do some lunges, and I like to, when I'm first starting out, give a bit more ease and have support with the blocks when I'm doing it. And then after I've done a few, then I'll find a bit more kind of strength in the structure. But I want things to just know where they are in space. And what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up so that we don't have kind of a pattern, like a habituated pattern that we repeat that doesn't serve the body in a balanced way. Okay, so we have that, and then possibly a folded blanket or a little mat, because it's always nice. We'll sometimes need something to elevate ourselves up with. Okay, so let's come first onto our back, and we'll have to move Mina Harker. Very lovely kitty. Very precious little girl. Yes, you're very good. How about just there? So make this block come down through the middle of your mat. And then when you come down, you just adjust to see whether it's your blanket or whether it is this foam block. And you just come down very slowly and methodically and just feel yourself moving through space until your spine is on it, including your head is like a last vertebra. So the knees are bent and just be here. So feel yourself relaxing on either side. So both sides of the pelvis kind of drape over as it's on the sacrum, following up through the spine. And then you'll feel both of the shoulder blades kind of drape over. So you've got some draping and some relaxing. So take a few breaths here, just feeling yourself down. Breathe in the belly. And then just shift a little bit, just like little micro movements, shifting a little bit to the left and then a little bit to the right, just going back and forth. Very small movements. So you're feeling weight shift, muscles shift, but you're still trying to maintain a really relaxed sense through the torso, which isn't as easy when you have a cat. Come on over to the side, Mina. There we go. And then come back into the center. Now we're going to come into a spinal roll or like a bridge, but we'll feel each of the vertebrae on the block or on the folded blanket. All right, so start to engage a little bit, just the muscles right here by the sitting bone. Just feel a little bit of that engagement and feel how they are contracting, and see if you can let the rest of the muscles of the body have more ease. But these muscles are going to be what lift you up, and only go just where you can go with ease. So sometimes we might think down with the feet, down with the shoulders, down with all these supporting parts. But instead, we're just allowing those muscles that are coming from the feet to just engage in that just exact right, perfect amount and no more. But we have so much support with these muscles here, just in through the glutes, in through the hamstrings, and then one vertebra at a time, slowly lower down, just feeling yourself move through space, a little extra length to come down one vertebra at a time. And then as you come even more down, feel kind of a downward lean through the sacrum, and then just relax. So as I've been playing with this for some time, what I've been noticing is that there's a sense of jiggliness or not super balanced. So it's almost like the spine doesn't really know where to go, so it's testing, and that's fine. And we can just notice that. But at some point, you're going to want to think a balanced movement without jiggles. So stay with what is and then learn to align nice and balanced. So let's just do that again. So feel the engagement at the sitting bones, the length through the tail, coming up from this back of the sitting bones, like that's what's elevating you. You're thinking up with that. And you don't care how high you're going. You're a little bit of a slant board and you're just feeling kind of at ease. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Feel both feet in a balanced way as they are in their natural state of downness, not a tight downness. Slowly lengthen down one vertebra at a time, feeling a bit deliberate in balance, a little bit deliberate in ease, and then find your pause. Breathe in the belly and just notice. Now feel that same engagement sort of drawing in. Sometimes we've talked about the sitting bones being suctioned up and in through the spine for a connection. So it's kind of like a balance between that and how much you're also engaging with the muscles at the back of the thigh. So engage like this and just lift this right foot a little bit and come down. Keep the engagement and lift the left and down and right and down and left and down and relax. Okay, comfortable distance away with the feet. We'll do one more bridge roll. Engage these muscles. Let that be what's lifting you. Lengthen and lift up just one vertebra at a time. And then take the arms up to the ceiling and possibly overhead to the ground behind you. And then slowly keep the arms overhead, but slowly lower down one vertebra at a time, tucking the chin. And then you come into your downness where the ribs are slightly tucked down in towards the belly, but you can still breathe in the abdomen. And then release the arms and release the sitting bones in the back. Okay. Just lift up or roll over a little bit to the side and remove your rolled up blanket or remove the foam. Just put it to the side and then feel yourself down on the ground and see what does it feel like now. Okay, good. Now, without having the block or the blanket underneath the back of your spine, let's do one more bridge roll. Because understanding what happens at the thighs for back bends is important. So, comfortable distance apart with the feet, comfortable distance apart from the heels to the sitting bones, and feel a little bit of an engagement here. Start to pick up at the back of the sitting bones and use that to lengthen the tail long and away, and then just feel yourself coming up just from those muscles alone. Even though, of course, everything else gets involved to some degree as you are a whole being. But these are the muscles you engage. And just breathe in your bridge, Setabandha. And then lower down one vertebra at a time. Tuck the chin, lengthen, lower, and then just pause. Breathe. Okay, we can either rock and roll to come up, or we can slowly roll to come up. Moving some kitties to the side. Come on, pugs. There we go. So walk yourself back a bit, and we're going to come into tabletop. And we'll just roll through the spine this way, so where the spine is in the air, so we don't have the same kind of feedback as the mat or as that rolled up blanket or the foam. Just check to see that your wrists are maybe right below your armpits or just a little bit in front. And then just start to drop the belly down, let the tail go to the sky, and then let this ripple. Just some slow movements where you're going to undulate through the spine in a concave way. And then we'll start with the tail to reverse it, taking the tail down, lumbar up, middle back up, thoracic spine up, and then drop the head at the end. Push down with the hands, widen through the side ribs, and just reverse at your own pace, but just let the head and the upper back to be the last that follows, regardless of which way you're going. And if we can look at the cats and see how much of a tensegrity structure they create constantly, where they defy physics, it looks like, and they defy gravity, and they defy the concepts of what we imagine movement to be. It's quite amazing. And then the next time we're going to come into the convexing of the back, and just let yourself come back into a child's pose. You can keep the arms forward or bring the hands back and make a pillow for your head. Inhale, coming up, bringing the hands forward, and let's just tuck the toes. And I want you to really cultivate the sense of that the toes are tucked under if your feet work that way. And drop the head, widen through the side ribs, and let the elbows hang so that they're heavy elbows. So the arms are in good alignment. You've got the puffed up quality of your upper back, the wide quality of your side ribs. And then start to wedge your hands and feet, pushing the mat apart, and evenly and slowly come up into your downward facing dog. Just pause here, still feeling how nothing is shifted through the spine or the back, or very little have shifted, just the hips have lifted. And then as you're here, you can bend one knee and let yourself sort of hang by bending one knee and letting the other hip widen, and then bending the other knee, letting the other hip widen. And just feel some movement through the hips, undulating through the body a little bit, some freedom around the shoulders as well. Relaxing to the jaw. And then come back into the center. And as you come back into the center, see if you can feel kind of a lifting of the sitting bones, and then drawing the sitting bones down to the heels. And just rocking the pelvis so that you feel like it's tipping up and it's tipping down. See if that's possible to find this independent movement of the rest of the body. Stabilizing. If it doesn't work like this, if you can't sustain your down dog, then go down into all fours and do this in tabletop, just kind of wagging the hips up and down. And then leave them down, widen the side ribs, look towards your hands, and step or hop. Feet to hands. Come into the fingertips and lengthen through the spine. And then come into a slightly deeper forward fold. You can bend the knees so that you rest your ribs on the thighs, drop your head. Clasp the hands behind the back by the pelvis, and then just see what happens if you imagine bringing the arms in the direction overhead. Take them back to the hips, change the interlace of the fingers, and let's do this again, bringing it up and bringing it over. You can keep the palms together, which is a little bit more restricted, or separate and create some more space between the palms. There might be a bit more room for movement. Taking the arms overhead.
And then releasing the hands back to the hips and then down to the ground and pause. Let the arms be heavy and relaxed. Let's bend the knees and we'll come up ragdoll. So the head can hang, the arms can hang. Feel even through both feet as you come up, and then pause in your upness. Hands to heart. This is where I'm going to be moving my blocks into space because we'll start with some lunges. So I'm using my rocks as a marker to mark which leg we're going to be moving first. All right, let's bring the hands to the heart. Feel the feet comfortable distance apart. Inhale, widen through the back body. Inhale, lift up and lift the rib cage a little higher and engage at the muscles at the back by the sitting bones. Just feel that engagement, a little bit of a snugged up in there, and just use that to create some more containment for the lumbar spine. And come a bit forward through the fronts of the calves. And then inhale up and exhale. Come into your own version of your forward fold. Inhale the left leg up and keep it on a bit of an angle, because as we take it on a bit of an angle, we'll engage the muscles at the sides of the leg. Take that foot back. Have the back foot at a 45, the front foot faces forward, and you have your hands on your blocks. So with your hips facing parallel to the front edge of the mat and the spine is trying to be flat, the head coming out through the spine. Just breathe here in Parsvottanasana. So you can practice shifting your weight here. How much do we have the weight in the hands and how much do we have the weight in the feet? And you can kind of go back and forth, pushing the mat apart with both of the feet, or taking the hands, a bit of weight into the blocks. Let's take the back heel up. So we're going to come into flag pose. The front knee is going to bend. And just start to wedge the feet apart and take the hands to the low back and feel here the back knee bends. Feel a little bit of an engagement of the left sitting bone and draw the pubic bone forward and up and bring the arms up. Breathe in the belly. Bring the armpits a bit forward and up so that you feel kind of a wrapping around quality through the back and like a lifted sling of the muscles around the shoulders. And then come down and we'll just move the blocks to the side, step to down dog. Pause and breathe in your down dog. Standing on your right foot, lift the left leg directly back, engaging the muscles at the sitting bone, and then bring it into the chest, and then fire that foot forward. And let's now come back, stepping the back foot up, turning it at a 45-degree angle, and we're coming into Parsvottanasana again. So both legs are straight, the hips feel like they're squared off to the front edge of the mat. The spine is imagining being like flat like a table. Come between the weight in the hands, or also lightening the weight on the hands as you push the feet apart. Then let's bend the front knee. Take the back foot so that the heel's up, bending the back knee, and you come up, hands to the lower back. And just feel yourself stabilized and sweet. Feeling a balance of weight distributed between both feet. Arms up, armpits a bit forward and up, pubic bone a little bit up. Find ways to breathe in the belly so something softens. And then take the hands down, push the back foot forward. Come into your forward fold. So what suits you? Pause, breathe. Inhale, coming up. Hands to heart. Inhale the arms. Coming into this moment where we're going to pause and breathe. And we'll feel the rib cage lifting. We'll feel the muscles of the sitting bones engage. And that's going to be enough to really hold the pelvis in a nice stable way. And we just start to think forward with the shins. Breathing in the belly and just staying in a place where you can still breathe. And then inhale and exhale, coming to your forward fold. Again, feel free, because that was a back bend already, we don't want to like over bend back and forth like a plastic credit card. So you just come into a nice easy forward fold. So maybe it means that your knees are bent. Breathe in the belly. Inhale the left leg up behind. Slight angle. Taking it down, Parsvottanasana, bring your blocks. And then walk that back foot back a little bit more, and let's just come down into a lunge where the back knee is still up, the toes are tucked under, and we have the hands on the block, but we really feel the muscles around this front knee engaging all around through the thigh, and so that is a big support. Feel the muscles at the right leg, the back leg at the sitting bone, and bring your pubic bone a little bit up. Push the mat apart with both feet. Breathe in the belly. And then come through. Move the blocks to the side, take the hands down. We're going to come into raised plank. So tuck the back toes, step this front foot back. Take yourself back far enough so you can widen through the side ribs and the arms are aligned but easy. And then as the armpit domes engage, you just shift yourself so that your armpits are basically over the wrists. Pause here. Shift forward, bend, keep the elbows tight in, come down. Widen the feet. Suction the sitting bones in and up to lift the spine. You're on the tops of the feet, and then just lean down and come up. Feel the muscles at the tailbone or the sitting bones engage, and then lift the chest a little bit more. Come down, take the knees together. Tucking the toes, pause. Inhale, widen the side ribs, relax the arms. Exhale, lift the hips. Inhale the right leg up. So it's straight up. The muscles at the sitting bones are engaged. Bring the knee in towards the chest. And then fire that foot forward. Parsvottanasana, move the blocks. Back foot at a 45-degree angle. And the front knee, come down, tuck. Keep those back toes tucked, and you're in an elevated lunge. So this front knee is over this ankle, and we are engaged in the thigh at the back on the left, and the knee on this front right. A little extra lift of the chest. Feel the pubic bone just slightly pulling up. Find room in the belly for breathing. Lift the hips up, push that back foot forward, long back, and then deeper forward bend. Inhale, come up in your best way. Feel your body even left and right as you come up. Hands into heart. Good. Inhale. Come into your back bend. So there's no pain in the lumbar and you're feeling so much space for breathing, despite the fact that this doesn't feel like a good space for breathing. Inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale halfway, take the left leg up behind. Set it back, Parsvottanasana. Now this time let's either come back onto the blocks or take your arms parallel to the torso here. So the armpits engage, the arms are relaxed, and then they just come up. Pause here, long spine. Balanced square hips to the front edge of the mat. And then let's come down. I'm going to create a little soft landing for my back knee. Bring your blocks if you'd like. I'm going to come on the top of my back foot, and as I go down, I'm going to just start to feel myself shifting forward. As I shift forward with my hips, my left sitting bone really gets engaged with the back of the thigh. This front knee is a little bit engaged. I have my hands on the blocks because it gives me a bit more space for elevation of the chest. Lift the ribs. And just feel yourself easing into this. And you might have some sensations, but we don't have a stretch reflex. We have support around the joints. And we can find a little bit of ease at the front of that left thigh. See if that's true. Don't push beyond that because the tension in it is going to be habituated if we keep feeling tension there now. Inhale, slowly coming up. Move the blocks to the side. Take your hands down. We'll go into raised plank. So you're back far and your armpits are engaged. Your arms are just aligned, but as light as they can be. And then you have your armpits over the wrists. The pubic bone comes a little bit forward and up. And then shift forward, bend down. You can always take your knees down first. Widen the legs, suction up through the sitting bones. Let yourself come up into either a lowered, modified up dog like this, lifting the rib cage a little bit, or maybe you can lift the knees up off the ground. Coming down at the knees, walking them together. We'll come into downward facing dog. Hips are back, widen the side ribs, relax the arms. The elbows are heavy. Breathe first. Start to think the hands and think the feet and start to balance them and wedge them and then just come up, erecting the tent. Inhale the left leg up, directly back, not with the hip lifted. Knee in towards the chest. And then fire that foot forward. Parsvottanasana on this side. And this time again, we're going to have the wide set of the armpits, the arms dangle, and then just bring the arms, palms facing each other, parallel to the torso. Long neck, long head from the spine. Room for breath. And then let's come down. We'll come down into this lunge again, coming onto the top of the back foot. And slowly, as you start to come forward, you're going to be engaging the muscles at the back of that right thigh, all the way to the sitting bone, engaging through to the glute. And this front knee engages a little bit. Relax a bit at the front of this right thigh. Lift the rib cage. And then you just come into a sustainable back bend. Pause and breathe. coming up. Tucking the back toes, lifting the hips up, pushing that foot forward. Long through the spine, and then just slowly come into your version of forward fold. I mean, maybe it's or still the bent knees and the head hanging. We're always looking to see that we are in our bodies in such a way that we explore to the limits, but not beyond. We want to know how we want to feel at the end of our practice. And that is that we have ease of movement then as well. Okay, inhale, come up. Slowly, in a balanced way, left and right. And bring the arms in towards the chest. Find ease through the hips and through the legs. And then inhale. And then now pause, building our standing backbone with the muscles of the sitting bones. Lift the chest, bringing the calves forward, breathing. And then an inhale and an exhale to come forward. Breathe in your forward fold, letting the body settle into the positions. And then inhale the right leg on a bit of an angle, taking it back. Now, we want to find a different hand position possibly, so we can come back onto the blocks like we did, or have them at the sides, or we could bring the arms forward. So we have this wide quality of our side ribs, and the arms just float up to this little extra index finger leaning. And then take the hands down. Let's come down into a lunge. Now this is going to be a little bit dramatic potentially, so just come to your own sort of degree of it. So we're in a lunge, possibly the knee is on a blanket, and I'm clasping my hands at the back here. So clasp your hands at the back and start to feel the lift of the chest and the back squeeze of these arms. And as you come forward, you're really going to be engaging in these muscles here at the sitting bones. And support with this front knee and keeping the elevation of your chest. So it's also a bit of a balancer, so because you're just on some small points on a line. Release. Take the hands down, tuck the back toes, raised plank. Take yourself back far enough first so you can set up the armpits. And then come forward nice and even and slowly stacking your armpits over the wrists. Lean forward, come down. Widen the legs, suction up to the sitting bones to come up. Staying in modified up dog if you'd like, because you've had a lot of back bends. Or maybe lifting the knees up and the chest a little bit more. Feel the contraction at the back of the thighs. Coming down. Knees closer together, take your time, hips back. Pause, getting at your readiness to come to down dog. Widen the side ribs, relax the elbows, drop the head. Think the hands, think the toes. Balance them together, push the mat apart. Exhale, hips up. Inhale the right leg up, straight up. Bring it into the chest. Take that foot forward. Come into your Parsvottanasana, back foot at an angle. So where are your hands? Or on your blocks or at your sides, or maybe they're coming forward. And then bring the hands down. Maybe you have your blocks just to support you to come down, or maybe with this back bend you want to just keep your hands on the block and not take them behind your back, because it does intensify quite a bit. So your choice. I'm shifting my weight back, taking my hands, clasping them, sort of softening around my shoulders a little bit, and then squeezing and lifting, stabilizing at the sitting bone on the back leg, stabilizing with the front knee, feeling that extra lift and lowering and bringing my hips forward and my chest up. And release. Take the hands down, lift the hips up, push the back foot forward, come into your forward fold. So again, maybe our knees are deeply bent, hanging the head, maybe the arms. Take the hands to the backs of the calves and lean the hands to the legs as the legs lean back to the hands, and find that resistance. Use that to plump up the lumbar spine and the back of the pelvis. Keep that resistance as you bend the knees, so maybe your torso becomes a bit parallel to the ground. Keep the resistance. And then widen the side ribs and just bring your arms forward. Come up a little increment, another one, and then all the way up. Hands into heart. Relax the legs, pause. Okay, so I'm just going to move these rocks over to the side and the blocks to the side, and also my mat, because we're going to step or hop back now into raised plank. So inhale the arms and exhale. Inhale, bend the knees, widen the side ribs, lift the heels, step or hop. Raised plank. Shift the weight. Armpits over the wrists. And shift down. And come all the way down. Widen the feet. Modified up dog, suctioning up with the sitting bones. Maybe lifting the knees. And coming into your downward dog. Take your time. Feel yourself moving through space. Feel yourself setting up smartly, intelligently through the small muscles. Inhale. Exhale. Pause in your down dog. All right, come on your left elbow, then come on your right elbow and straighten the legs out. Just come into an elbow plank. And then come all the way down to the ground. So with this that we're going to do, we're going to bend a knee in the direction towards that corresponding sitting bone. And as we do, we focus a bit on bringing the pubic bone down, and we kind of lean on the foot with our hand. If it doesn't reach, you might need a belt. But also when you're leaning on the hand, the foot resists. And so it's kind of bulking up the muscle. So that's what we're looking for here. So let's just simply bend this right knee. Reach around, take that foot,
sometimes we can hold from the inside of the foot and roll so that the fingers face forward. Not always, it's a shoulder thing. So however we're holding the foot or the ankle, lean it down and try to lift the knee up. So you're on your left elbow as a support. And slowly release. Pause. So you're on your right elbow, let's just simply bend the left knee. Reach around with an easy arm and then find that swivel if it works. Find the downward slight push and the trying to lift up of the left knee. And release. Pause. Okay, let's find this one more time on each side. Okay, so feel a bit of a downness of the sitting or the pubic bone. Bend the right leg. Easy reach around from the inside of that right foot. Swivel so that the fingers face forward. Find the resistance. It's not your biggest argument, but it's trying to evenly build the load through the joints. And release. All right, and other side. So bend the knee, pubic bone down, reach around inside of that left foot. Swivel around maybe, fingers face forward. Find the resistance. And release. So just start to walk yourself slowly to come up. Like that's going to be probably a pretty active quality for the back. So just not a full child's pose at the moment. Taking the hands down, the hips are back, drop the head. And then we're going to come into downward dog as our counter pose. So widen the side ribs, relax the elbows. Think hands and feet, push the mat apart. Erect the tent of down dog and just pause here for a few breaths. Just taking the shape as it is so that the body can relax here, not giving a lot of direction, letting it kind of ease into the shapes that it needs to until eventually you might want to think down to the heels with the sitting bones. And then shift the weight forward and step or hop. Feet to hands, long back, deeper bend. In this forward bend, think about the pubic bone and the low belly suctioning together, and then relax a little bit through the backs of the legs and relax a little bit through the back of the pelvis and lumbar. Inhale, coming up. Feel even with the weight in the body. And up. And then back in towards the heart with the hands. Good. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And then raised plank. Take your time. Lower plank. Come down. Widen the feet. And let's just come into our nice little modified up dog. Maybe lift the knees. Lift the chest.
And take yourself for downward dog. Pause, widen, find ease, find connections. Inhale, exhale. And let's come forward and down, recommending that you have a blanket for your knees. We're going to come into a few different versions of Ustrasana or camel pose. So this is a back bend again, and I like to do it with 3 different feet position. So I'll show those, and you can decide if you do each of the camels with a different foot position like I'll be doing, or you can decide if you want to just use one that works for your feet. Okay, because we need to, again, sustain. The other thing about camel is sometimes it has been taught where you really thrust the hips forward, but we're going to be focusing on less of that, and again, more of the connection at the sitting bones. So we feel that is one of the biggest parts of our connection, so that the lower back stays easy and the pelvis stays easy. And that's really holding the pelvis intact. So we're not asymmetrically torquing it or just torquing it too much. So you can stay on a bit of a slant angle rather than a curve, but really we're looking for this chest lift. So thinking that the chest is going to be one of the biggest things that we lift in this. So take your hands with the backs of the fingers to your side ribs near your armpits. I'm sitting just on my heels. You can have a block under here if this doesn't work for you. So just having the hands leaning into the side ribs, and let's just inhale 3 times to the side ribs. So it's the same breath, but it's 3 parts of inhale. So in, and exhale. Feel them come together and down. So just as another point on that, another detail, so you're really feeling the effects of rib expansion as it relates to the backs of your hands here, or the backs of your fingers. So let's do that again a few times. Okay, in, exhale. In, exhale. With the next one, think in and make it into a back bend. So the lifting makes it into a back bend. In, exhale. Take your hands down, just pause. Okay, so that's what we're going to be drawing on, thinking of the widening of the side ribs as the lifting of that. So it's kind of an independent lift. So let's try this out. So the first one, we'll have the toes tucked under, facing forward. Take the hands in the mat and lift the knees and push the heels away. Push the heels towards the back. So the toes and the feet feel long. The knees are, again, they're still lifted for a couple more breaths here. And then eventually take the knees down and see if you can sit on your heels. If you can't sit on your heels, then you might want to sit on a block like this where you can have ease for the knees. Okay, so I'm sitting on my knees. And so this is just a way to prepare the feet and also to just allow the body to understand ease. So you want to let the sitting bones relax down on those heels. And then come forward, the hands come forward, take the knees apart. Take the hands to the back, come forward. So it's like a kind of child's pose as you just come forward and you just drape and waterfall the spine and feel the sweetness of the lumbar spine and the sweetness of the back of the pelvis. And as you come up, it's like you're kind of unfurling, the head's hanging, and you're gradually coming up into your upness, but the body understands ease. Feel the lifting of the side ribs. The hands have that support for the lumbar spine. Start to think the sitting bone muscles, and then just take yourself back to a slant board. Now, if your hands reach your heels, take your heels, otherwise just come back out. If your hands reach your heels, pause here on the slant board, lift your chest even more, maybe drop the head. And then at some point, you can start to possibly think bringing the hips forward as long as you maintain the sitting bone connection. Okay, I can't talk with my head back. Keep the head hanging back as you come up, and then just come back down. Take the knees together, lean forward, release the feet. Be sweet with the feet if they need some sort of massaging. And then come onto the tops of the feet. Now here when we come on the tops of the feet, the ankles are going to be elevated off the ground, and we're going to tug the feet and bring them forward. So my hands are in the ground, and this time I'm tugging the mat towards the tops of my feet, and the tops of my feet are dragging the mat as if they could bring it all forward up to my hands. So it's this kind of isolation. Okay, and then come back and sit just for a breath, if you can handle just even a breath of this, and then come up, widen the knees, hands at the back, keep the feet like this, drop forward and drape and lengthen the lumbar. Expand your breaths, and then ragdoll to come up. Until as you come up, start to engage at the sitting bones, lifting these ribs, that extra lift, and just come back. And if you make it to the heels, you can take the heels, have the palms face the bum, and feel the sitting bones, lift the chest a bit more, and have your way with camel. Again, I can't talk when my head's back. Inhale, coming up. So I'm showing you that I'm taking my head back because for me it feels really good. It feels like a really good extra lengthen for this upper back. But some people get a headache, or it's too much, or it's cutting off some of the circulation for the head. So you might need to leave your chin into the chest when you go. And in fact, looking at your chest like that and lifting it some more is a really great way to stay communicating with the lift of your chest and the back bend. So the head doesn't have to go back. Okay, the next one is the last one we'll do. So here, just relax the feet in a nice, easy way. When you feel ready, if you wish to choose this one, the sides of the feet come together, the heels are slightly apart. You have got a fin going on with your feet here, and you're lengthening the toes, and you're bringing the ankles down, and you're still keeping the sides of the feet together if that can happen. Don't force it, but that's our basic action. So pause and sit. Come up. Widen the knees. Hands at the back, and we'll just drop and find that nice waterfalling spine, the ease of the muscles in the body. Come up, ragdoll. Sitting bone muscles, lifting of the chest, leaning back on a slant board, maybe taking the heels, lifting the chest a bit more. And here's that thing where I can keep my chin in towards the chest and then bring my hips forward instead of dropping it or dropping it. Inhale, coming up. Taking yourself into a nice, easy child's pose. So with your knees together will give more of a traction, but if it's too much, then you might wish to widen the knees, maybe make a pillow for your forehead. Inhale, coming up. Let's move this along I'm taking mine horizontal. I'm going to come into the splits, and when we come into the splits, it's not for everyone, obviously. So you can have your blocks to come underneath your front leg, like underneath that sitting bone there of the front leg, or some people like it at the back leg, or some people like it at both, or some people just really will just come into a lunge instead. Okay, so choose what you're going to do. Let's take our hands forward, tuck the toes. We'll come into downward facing dog. Inhale, and then exhale, down dog. Pausing. Let's inhale the left leg up behind us straight. Engage through the muscles at the sitting bones, through the backs of the legs, and then bring that into the chest and come forward. So the left knee comes down onto the support, and then you just glide this right heel forward. When we come into this kind of concept of the splits, I'll engage the muscles of my front thigh by the whole front thigh and all the way to the knee, and then I'll try to relax the back of that leg. And then I'm engaging the sitting bones at my back left leg and relaxing the front thigh on the left. Okay, pause. Roll over onto the right seat. Bring that leg around. Let's come back into downward facing dog. It's asking a lot to do the splits. It's just a really classic way to counterpose all of the back bends that we've done so far. Left leg up. Bring it in. Bring it forward. Come down on the right knee. Just glide that left heel along just to where you can go. Use your hands as support. You can also use your blocks for your hands as a support if you're not needing them underneath a thigh or a hip. The weight over to the left. Let that leg scooch around. We'll come back to downward facing dog. Let's just simply bring the left knee forward, and we're going to take it into the position of pigeon. And when we come into this is again one of those things, if you might need a block, and it might come underneath your left hip. This might be your pigeon where you've got it supported like this really nicely, and you can kind of find ease, and it's easy to have the hips facing forward. Also, it can create more space for this front knee. Also, you can have pigeon where the heel is coming right in towards the groin, where the heel comes to sort of the opposite side's groin. Or if you have the flexibility today, then your shin might come parallel to the front edge of the mat, and we pause like this, engaging the sitting bones of the back leg, feeling it as the back bend that it is, and then coming forward. And as we come forward, you feel a downward tug of the top of the back foot as it leans down. You slightly suction the thighs in towards, as if they're coming in to plump up the lumbar spine or the back of the pelvis. And then you can just test relaxing and suctioning it back up, and relaxing and suctioning it back up. So play with this so that we're not having any muscles that aren't feeling supported. Sometimes when you engage all those muscles, they understand the contraction, and then they also understand the release. So the muscles that sometimes are holding and they maybe don't need to hold, they can sometimes relax as well. Okay, so just pause here and pigeon. Breathing with the breath awareness of this is my breath in, and this is my breath out. And then inhale, coming up and using your hands, tucking the back toes and coming back into downward facing dog. Simply bringing this right foot forward again, deciding, do we have the block underneath this hip? We stay upright maybe, or come forward. Or do we come down? Have the play of contraction, like suctioning in and relaxing, and suctioning in and relaxing. Focusing on the breath as this is my breath in, this is my breath out, this is my breath in, this is my breath out. Inhale, using your hands, coming up and bringing your back leg forward, and just have a moment of pausing. Sometimes we can use that sweetness of inward energy for just a couple moments of just sitting. Okay. Release the sense of your sitting and just reach over for your belt. And we'll come down onto our backs. Take the belt around the feet and just have it around the balls of the feet, and you can take yourself on an angle. So if it's just a solid belt, your legs will just hang on a 45 degree or a roughly 45 degree angle. So they're not straight up and down, they're not perpendicular, they're on an angle. If you've got the belt with the elastic, maybe you can find a kind of bouncing, and I sometimes find with a stationary belt as well, you can sometimes bounce your feet, bounce your legs. So there's this concept of creating ease in the back of the pelvis, the back of the lumbar, in the mind. Find stillness and pause. Let's take the legs, the feet, so that it's still really the arms that are driving and a little bit of momentum as we draw them into figure eights, sort of horizontal figure eights. And then come into the center, pause with them on the angle again. The legs are nice and heavy. And then just with least effort, just bring the legs in to where they can come. Maybe you're still holding on to the belt, or maybe at one point you hold on to the backs of the legs or onto the feet, maybe the sides of the feet. Just let the legs be in. So the kind of draping weight is like a damp or very wet towel, more than you're pulling them in towards you. So just something kind of heavy arms. Maintain this quality, hold the right foot and just slowly lower that left leg down, leaning out with the big toe. Leaving it hovering above the ground. Keeping it hovering if you can. Let's take this right leg out to the side. And then take the heel down and just take this left leg out over to the left and release it from the hold if you can. Just lengthen in little bursts so that this right hip feels like it's having some kind of connection and some push. So you're kind of pushing from the hip and then come up. Bend both knees, just rock a couple times to massage the back, pause. And then bring the legs up. Find your draping quality of your hands or the belt. Hold the left leg, let the right leg go down. Out to the side. Take the heel down and then take this left leg over to the right and find that kind of pulsing, pushing. I'm stabilizing with my elbows on the ground. Shoulders are staying on the ground as you're twisting. Just kind of pushing away from internal power and then come up. Bend the knees. Pause with your knees bent and just find a comfortable space here where the legs are at whatever distance to the chest that they can just stay here easily and feel more heaviness down through the back of the pelvis and the lumbar spine. If you have to hold them, just put your hands on the legs or the knees. Support the knees with your hands on the knees and just take a couple easy smile massage twists where you move the legs to do this. So there's so much softening of any habitual gristle. It's understanding that it's allowed to release for this moment anyway. Letting go. And trust in the mind and trust in the body. And then come back into the center. If you're ready, you can just straighten the legs out and let them go. The arms out to the side, maybe the palms face up. And just a couple of moments of traction where you suction the legs into the spine, where you feel the pubic bone coming up to the chest, and you're sort of downly smushing the lumbar, and then relax. And again, let's do this 2 more times, suctioning up, and then even bring the knees to face the sky, pulling the lumbar down, and relax, letting them fall out. And one more time, suctioning up and in, and the knees face the sky. So the downward of the back of the pelvis and lumbar, room for breath, but so much connection. And then relax and let the feet fall out in a natural way. Pause and be in your Shavasana. Feeling for a few breaths just the downness of the body. And then allow the breath to expand beyond the skin. With your inhales and with your exhales, you connect deeply back to the core. Inhale wide beyond. Exhale deep to the center. Continuing to do this as the skin begins to feel more and more translucent. The atmosphere and the skin becoming bonded and connected as one.
Gradually bringing the awareness back to breathing. Feeling the definition of the skin surrounding the body. Transitioning in the best way that is personal to you from the position of Shavasana, rolling over to your side, and then eventually come up to sit. Namaste.